made it to another episode of the Pipe Dream Podcast. This is a show that reveals the real and raw of tradesmen's stories. We get the truth from those who support the people who do the work. We also take a deep dive with resilience experts and those who do the heavy lifting supporting the labor force. Listen for today's tale from the trench.
Hey Nick, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. It's been a fun while. It's been a while since I saw you. You came down to our studio. Was formerly the Float Shack, right? We took that business over and then we rebranded it and named it Wild Horse Market Studio. We had big visions of doing a whole bunch of other stuff there. We had yoga and an eatery and everything else. It was in downtown Red Deer, but just before the virus, we decided to shut it down and the physical location, downtown Red Deer. And we're going to eventually build a retreat center out at our acreage. I think is kind of the plan, and set the tanks back up there and have we got a beautiful space out here, so it'll be a lot more fun and inviting for people. And we're the acreage, but we're part of the city still, so we're actually not out of town that far, right? But it'll be a lot more peaceful for people to come out here than going into downtown Red Deer, I think. So,
yeah, that's super, and it's super cool because part of I always wanted to try one. I was scared. the float tanks. I don't know if a lot of the listeners probably haven't not even seen one, right? But yeah, pretty wild. And then that was my thing. I brought a date there, and
it was your first date or something, right?
Yeah, first date, and then put her in a tank. Well, separate tanks, right? But nude, and messed her hair all up, and yeah, it was crazy, right?
The date went really well too, if I remember. It was like you guys were together quite a while after that night, right? You had a long night ahead of you.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe a couple months, but yeah, living away, long distance thing didn't quite work out, right? But yeah, it was pretty cool. So, but no, it was the best. It was the best idea I've had in a while for like a date. That's for sure.
No, it's something different. I mean, the sensory deprivation's been around since the 70s or before that. It's really good for anybody. I mean, mental clarity and that kind of stuff. Just let yourself unwind and rest and relax. But especially, I used to tell everybody that, especially trades guys. We work with our bodies so hard. I own a concrete construction company, right? So I know what it's like. I'm actually filthy dirty today. I just came in from the job site to talk with you. So when I can go into the float tank and have a float and rest, and the magnesium and Epsom salt just pouring into my body, I feel fantastic after. And I really miss it because the tanks have been shut down for a month now. We have them at the house. And they're set up and they're salt in them, but they're not. We don't have the pump set up yet. We're just storing the salt, and so that's actually my plan this weekend is to get them both up and running again, and so that I can start using them at home. They're just in our storage room, and one's in our garage, and so we don't actually have showers like a studio where you got to shower and get in. So it's like shower upstairs in the house, and I'll just walk downstairs with my probably flip-flops on that I use at the gym or whatever, just so I can keep, be clean, and then get in and whatever. I'll just lay some extra towels down so I can dry off, and then I'll have to walk all the way upstairs and have another shower again, after you're done. But I really missed it. I've noticed that actually. We've maybe going to another center in Calgary or whatever, but everything's closed now with the COVID, right? So,
yeah. Oh, sorry, Luke, you broke up a little bit there. Would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, I just said that we had moved it home and trying to float at the house now, right? And we wanted to go to a studio in Calgary or something, but of course everybody's shut down, so we can't do that now. So definitely want to get them back up and running at the house. So at least I can float because I'm still working. I'm blessed that our stuff is still deemed essential right now, so we're able to still pour concrete and get some of these sites done that are already begun and started. So we're still working, and it's really good in that regard.
Yeah, so lucky, so lucky. And you said like you noticed that you're missing it. You're actually missing it, right? And floating, right? But isn't it crazy how we just when you recognize stuff like that and like, okay, but why you miss it? It's cool to know, right? Like you're actually checking in with yourself to like be like, no, like this is why I don't feel that great because I used to do stuff before and it made me feel good. But when you don't do it, now I'm recognizing.
I think as humans we do it, but men especially, as trades guys, we're surrounded by a lot of, whatever, you gotta be rough and tough and hard and, drinking beer and whatever else. And I don't drink, I haven't drank in almost 8 years. And I do notice that when I'm stressed out, there's certain things that work for me to alleviate that stress that I used to turn to drinking to alleviate stress, which anybody that drinks knows that's not a good idea. So, then it was like junk food or whatever. So if I'm not training, like, for a fight, then I don't have that stress relief of like hard working or hard workouts and that kind of stuff. So I'm really noticing right now that, I'm not in the gym because they're closed. I'm not going to yoga or floating or anything like that because it's all shut down. And I'm doing good because I've got my kids and my girlfriend are around and I'm happy and I'm at work, but I'm noticing almost just in the last week and a bit that I'm starting to get like, not feeling like myself. So hey, what's missing? Well, floating's missing. Exercise has been missing. So we've been working a lot this last week, like I said, on this 12,000 square foot shop and getting that done. So it wraps up tomorrow. So I'm going to start, putting on the runners and go for some runs. I got a whole bunch of yard cleanup that needs to be done, with the snow melting. So I'll turn it into some fun with some wood to chop. So I'll do some chopping of wood and all that kind of stuff and just get back to getting moving and doing that. So it's been really, really eye opening having the studio for, almost 2 years to see like how people change when they float, but how people change when they go to yoga and how much happier they all leave. And then realizing, like, knowing that and understanding it and seeing it on the regular, it's like, I don't know why more people don't take their health and wellness seriously, right? They just eat so shitty, they drink and whatever else. And then worse, they put toxic substances into their heads by watching, terrible news shows, terrible YouTube stuff, even movies and things like that just aren't good, and it just fills their mind full of negative shit.
Oh, no, absolutely. And right now, and I just made the leap this morning, downloaded an app to like regulate how much I'm actually consuming and, social media and all that stuff. When you work off of your phone, and that's part of my business now is doing that, like you can just get consumed with a bunch of crap, right? So, and all of a sudden, 3 hours later, you haven't accomplished anything, but now you don't feel good because, you've just watched a bunch of shit.
It's a hit of dopamine, right? When you're seeing those likes and those comments on your posts, it's a dopamine hit. But I use social media as much as I can for my business, and for promoting. But I find I really stopped trying to surf it. I'm not scrolling through it. I'm going on there with a purpose, and then I'm getting off. But I do find myself scrolling occasionally, and I'm like, nope. Time to be done. One thing I did the last couple of weeks, actually, with this, lockdown per se, right? Is I was we talked the other day about Grant Cardone.
Yep.
And doing some training, some sales training stuff with him. I really like it, but one of the biggest things I liked is his take on negativity and positivity, where I'm like that too. I try to be as positive as I can, but I didn't realize how many people I follow that are negative. Like in my life, like they could just be family and friends or actual celebrities or whatever like that, where you just see a lot of the stuff that they post. And so without like making a big deal about it, like I hate it when I see people go, oh, I'm going on a Facebook cleanse. It's like, you're a drama queen. What are you doing? Like just delete people that you don't want in your life, right? So I just did that. I unfollowed a whole pile of people. I didn't delete them as friends because, you might still want to connect, but I just unfollowed them, especially right now, while a lot of them are just, we'll never see this in our lifetime again. Like, you can take this circumstance as like, it's terrible, it's bad, all this stuff, the government's out to get us, whatever, and that's like one side. There's people that are just like, well, we can't do anything, I'm just like staying at home now. And then there's, I think, like people like me that are going like, okay, thankfully my business is good, I can still work. But how can I shift it so that I'm not so focused just on having to go out of my house to work, right? Like, you're able to work from home, some of your stuff, you're just talking to people. And that won't change when life gets back to normal, right? So I'm looking at like, how can I do something, different? And how can I help people? And how can I learn? And how can I grow? And like, I love that my kids are home all day long with me, right? I love, when they're with me for the week on, right? Like, we can just play and hang out and teach them and do different, things that we normally wouldn't do because we don't have the time that we have. And this is really where I'm really wanting to push my ex to allow us to homeschool the kids next year. We tried to do it this year and they weren't for it. My girlfriend Rin, her 2 kids are homeschooled. They have been forever. So like, the girls are with us all the time. So I see them more than I see my own kids because when my kids are with me, they're at school for so many of the days. And, as a concrete guy, wintertime, I'm home all the time. And then summertime, I'm working. So like, at least in the winter, I could be involved in their life a lot more. Summertime is summertime. That's gotta make it in the sunshine, right? So, that's been a real blessing. I hope my ex sees it the same as a blessing because, she's also working from home, and she's got the kids. So I'm hoping that, she can maybe see that there's some value in this and how the kids are coming out of it stronger and learning to be more independent, and they're doing their schoolwork and they're watching their teacher, and then they're doing the work they're supposed to do each day on their own without prompting. And it's really good. They know the faster they do their work, the more they can get onto some fun. And when they're at school, they're stuck there for 8 hours, like a job.
Yeah,
is what school's about. It's to program people to be ready for their job. So it's why I'm so against it. Being an entrepreneur, I want my kids free thinking.
No, and I don't know if I personally could do that, but there's definitely value in that for sure for the people that are. You've touched a little bit on your background. Were you always a concrete guy?
Yeah. So I went to so I was always fighting, right? Like, I fight now professional kickboxing and Muay Thai. I was supposed to fight April 11th in Hollywood for a world title, but that can't postponed till August 22nd, I think, right now.
Yep.
So the reason I say that is because I was training as a young kid in high school, and I was going to go be an engineer or an architect. That's what I wanted to be, was an architect. And so when I was looking at going to school, right, of course, I was limiting myself. I can either go to Edmonton or Calgary. That's it, because that's where it's close for me. And so I applied to U of C because National Kickboxing was there, and I knew that I could go train with Mike, and I could get further my fight career. And so with Calgary, you had to have a degree in something else at the time, 20-some years ago. So I enrolled in the engineering department, so I could get a degree in engineering and then an architect. I'd go for 8 years. That was my plan, and then I could open my own business or whatever. And I decided to take a year off because I just didn't really want to go right to university. And I went to work for a foundation company, and then about 8 months into that, I didn't like working for the guys, and so I quit, and I went to work for a flatwork company who was my neighbor, and I fell in love with it. I loved it. I did my whole apprenticeship there as an apprentice carpenter, and then when they got out of the residential industry and went strictly commercial, there was a big opening in the city, and I went to work with my boss, or my foreman kind of thing, and he jerked me around, never paid me for like 6 weeks worth of work. And so I had a bunch of side jobs, and I just said, what the hell with it, man? And I started Creative Concrete, which is my concrete company, and just phoned those side jobs and said, hey, this is what's happened. I've got to do this work sooner than later. I really, really need the money. They were like family, friends, and stuff like that, right? So they said, do you need anything? I said, no, just to be paid when I'm done. Like, I can't wait, I don't have an account or whatever. And I did those, I think I had 4 jobs. And that's what I told my wife at the time. We were just newly married, and she's like, "You're going to start your own business." And she worked at the bank in the business department, and I said, "Yeah, I'm going to start my own business." And she's like, "Well, you don't even have a business plan or whatever." I'm like, "Well, fuck! Like, I've got these jobs. I'll go do this jobs. It'll be enough money that it'll kind of catch us up from what we borrowed, like on a credit card, to like pay for certain things that my old boss never paid me for." And so I said, like, it'll be enough that the profit we make will catch everything up, and I'll figure it out after that. And maybe I'll have to go work for my dad out at Nova, or maybe I'll go back to Jack. I don't know, but I said, but truthfully, hopefully the phone just keeps ringing and I can just keep running this business because it's going to be fun. And I didn't really know how to pour and finish a lot of concrete at that point. All I had done for 4 years was really prep everything. And so I hired some good guys to help me. I could do enough, right? I just wasn't like really good. So I hired some of the better guys in town and paid them piecework to come work with me for these few jobs and learn a little bit of stuff. And then, 16 years later, and the phone still rings. So, and that's how I did. And I've always kind of been like that, where I would set my mind to something and I would just go and do it. And that was it, right? There was nothing stopping me. And if there was a hiccup or a bump, you just reevaluate it and you figure out what you need to do, and then you do that differently again, right? It's the same thing with this virus. Like, here we are, so you can bitch and complain and sit in your house and get drunk and don't do anything with your time, or you can be like, wow, like, I have all this extra time on my hands now that I don't have to be at work or whatever. And, I get it. People are sad or scared about their finances or whatever else. Well, sitting around getting day drunk and doing nothing in your life isn't going to help you out in the long run either. So maybe invest some money in some education or new training or something else that you can do and get out and start doing that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, us entrepreneurs that, and even like us in the oil patch that are contractors and stuff, yeah, you're your own boss. And I've always been like that, right? And was it ever always right? Like my decisions? No. But I knew that's what I wanted. And like that's part of the program that we run now, is getting clear on why we want to do stuff. So you're not just doing stuff you think you want to do it. Like there's a clear plan ahead of you, like that's aligned with your values and your mission, right? Like, which most men don't really know. And most people, I coached some women, I coached an oil field wife here, right? And she's now just getting clear with her actual values. So it's not just men, it's both sided. But a lot of men, if you asked them what their values were, they would just laugh it off. Like you or not even know what you're talking about, right? So once we align that, go ahead.
Yeah. I just agree with you. I think that as society, we're like, people aren't told to like go after their dreams or what do you want to do, right? You look at your parents, you look at people in your life, and you're like, well, that's just what they do. That's what we do. I just get up every day. I go to a job I hate, and I do that so that I can, and I used to say, people say like, buy stuff. You go to work to get money to buy stuff to impress people that you don't really like. And what's worse than that is like, you actually go to work, a lot of people, to earn money to buy things for the person you don't like that's sitting across from you at their dinner table. Yeah. And that's the worst. And you're like, this is just how it is. I saw my parents live like that. I saw my aunts and uncles and whatever. And, I didn't like, they're not unhappy or whatever, but I look at it and I'm like, I want to be like thrilled, exhilarated, like so alive when I come home because I see my person, not just like, oh, hey, what's up? And we're not fighting. And so when I'm divorced, right?
Yep.
It's been 5 years since I moved out now. And we just signed the divorce like last year and finally. And so when I got sober almost 8 years ago, right? I decided like, I'm done drinking. I'm fucking up my life, my own life. Now, I didn't stop for my kids. I didn't stop for whatever else. I actually hired a business coach and I missed the call. And so I got wasted. and because I was already drinking beer, which is why I missed the call.
Yep.
And I got blackout drunk and I almost died. And I just decided I'm never drinking again. My dad picked me up. I had like a 6-hour talk with him instead of going to the hospital. And I just decided, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to not drink. I'm going to get my life in order. And so I really started working, and it was probably like a year where I was like, life was really good, you know, it was kind of on a high, and the marriage seemed to be better and whatever else, but then it kind of plateaued again. And I looked around, and it was like, I'm in a relationship that's not fulfilling for me. Like, I'm sleeping in the basement still. I've been sleeping in the basement since our kids were born. And I finally said to her, like, look, like, you know, you're not happy. Like, what is it that you want to do? Because, like, my life's good. Well, and, you know, there's always excuses. And so I looked at it like myself, and I said, well, I'm getting help. Like, I'm talking to somebody about my issues, and I'm working through my issues, and that's what I want to keep doing. And so mentally, I told myself I was going to give our marriage like one more year, and I was going to just do like everything I could. You know, a lot of guys, I think they do stuff for like a weekend or a night or whatever to try to get it. I didn't want to do things so that I could have sex with her. I wanted to do things because I wanted a relationship with somebody. I wanted somebody that wanted to do stuff with me. And looking back, like, I realized there were so many warning signs leading up to our marriage where it was like, this isn't the right person, but you just choose to ignore those because so many other things are good. Right. And I didn't realize this at the time when I was even going through all this. I just knew I was really unhappy. And so I finally told her I wanted a divorce, and there was no, like, I wasn't going to work on it, because to me, I was like, any changes that happen are going to be because of the threatening of the divorce, not because she wants to make them or whatever else. I was just done. I was no longer in love. And I felt like she didn't love me for a long time. And so we, filed for divorce. I moved out like 3 weeks later, got my own place. You know, a few weeks after that, I started dating another lady, like, just met her, and I was, oh man, I want to have fun. And I filled my life up full of things that were missing in my marriage. Right. And it took me about 3 years to figure out that a lot of my marriage, like a lot of the qualities that my ex-wife had were qualities I wanted in a person. But the key ones that I was looking for that she didn't have was what I filled with this new relationship. But I ignored all the other things that was good in my life. And I realized, like, after a while, I was like, this is worse than my marriage. Like, my finances are being destroyed. I'm not working like I used to work. Like, this is not good. I'm fulfilled in one department, but everything else is a fucking disaster. And I just said, like, I'm done. I told her, I said, because I looked at the mistakes I made with my marriage and leading up to it, where, like, I should have just been as a young kid, like, hey, this isn't working for me. Like, I'm moving on. And I didn't want to make that mistake again. So I did. I broke up. But how I broke up was I was sitting down one weekend, because I had been challenged by a friend to write down everything, right? Like, I was struggling with stuff. I was on the fence of this decision to break up with this girl. Strangely enough, I was floating in the float tank, and I was like in that, like, for those of you who've never tried floating before, sometimes you can reach like a outer body experience. You're almost like in a tank, or you're starting to see other things. Anyway, I thought that somebody locked the door of the tank. I heard like a rod locked through the door handles. So I sat up to push on the door, panicking, and of course it was like nothing happened, right? You're in your own room and whatever, for people that don't know. So I lay back down to start floating again, and I swear I hear the noise. So I jump up again, and in my brain I go, man, I feel trapped. And I went, whoa, that's how I feel in my life right now. So the tank is the word I'm looking for, like a euphemism. Is that the right word? For your life, right? Yeah. So you learn a lot about yourself when you're alone with your thoughts. And that's what the tank does. Is it really lets you think clearly. And some people don't like that, because then they're faced with this strong reality of what you need to do. So I went home and I started writing this book for the weekend, and I realized as I was writing the book on my divorce and whatever, just trying to figure out like what's wrong with me, right? Like how am I contributing to these bad relationships? And as I was writing the book on the divorce and the decline of my marriage and all that stuff, I realized that I was in a very similar relationship that I was unhappy. And so I broke up with her. And I tried writing the book a little bit more, but the book kind of fulfilled for me. I got what I needed. And so I met my girlfriend, Rin. We met each other years before, but we were both in relationships and married and whatever. And we're just acquaintances. We would just run into each other, around town. Nothing ever serious or anything like that, right? And so I just ran into her one day shortly after breaking up and was like, hey, what's new? And, and she said she's moved to Calgary and she's got divorced. And I was like, wow, I just broke up with my girlfriend. And, why? And I started talking about what I've just said, right? About how certain things were good, certain things weren't. And I was, what happened with your marriage and this and that. And so we basically were talking about the kind of person that we want to be, and who we really aspired to be and what we wanted to do. And like, I didn't want to compromise anything of who I am anymore for anybody else. And I don't want somebody that's just willing to accept me for me. I want somebody that really just looks at me and is like, man, I love you for who you are. And I think that everybody can find that. The problem is that we don't want to wait for that, right? We find something shiny and we're like, let's have some fun with this. And then we don't know why later we're so unhappy. So we spent like 5 days together without kids, where we just said, like, let's get to know each other, the deepest possible connection you can, and find out if we're a good fit. And if we're not, then let's just be friends, and we'll have had 5 really fun days together and got to know each other way deeper. But I said, basically, like, if you smoke, I'm not dating you. Like, that's a 100% no for me. And there's other things in our lives that are maybe not so black and white, but they should be, right? And one of them is I'm entrepreneurial. So if you're an employee or you're an employee mindseted person, no offense to anybody else that is an employee, I don't want to be in a relationship with you, because you don't understand what it means to work your 12 hours doing your trade or doing your whatever, and then coming home and then doing like 3 hours of business development and making phone calls and getting up early and then doing all these things that the owners of businesses do because they want to make their business work. And if you have a person that supports you in that because they love to see you on fire, like, not figuratively for everybody that says that, right? We're talking Texas here right now. And but then like going and doing that work, then they won't get it, right? Like, when I told Rin today, I texted her and said, like, hey, I've got to do this. Hey, I've got this podcast opportunity I'm going to go do with Nick. He's the guy from, came into Float. And she's like, oh, that's the guy that brought his girlfriend in, or like first date. And I said, yeah, exactly. And she's like, oh, like, did he just call you today? And I'm like, no, we talked like, a couple weeks ago. I just forgot like that it was today. And until I looked at my calendar and I forgot to tell you. So, she's not like, oh, I thought you'd be home by 2, whatever. She's just, yeah, go do it, because she knows it's something that I want to do, right? And so she went through this huge list and told me like all of the things, as well for her that were important and whatever else. And I was like, okay. I said, let's do this. And that's where we've been. And so people say, oh, it's weird. You guys moved in like 6 months later. She moved back to Red Deer to move into a basement suite of her dad's for a bit, to be, that's just where, for her separation worked better and all that kind of stuff, or divorce, right? Like, and neither one of us was going to get back together with the exes. And so I was like, this is crazy. You're going to move in here and do all this work. You're going to be living here in a few months. She's like, no, I'm not. The kids like don't even know each other yet. Blah, blah, blah. They don't know. We don't know. And so we were like getting the kids, we were getting together, just having like, fun, like as couples. The kids are playing and they loved it, right? And they had so much fun. And so then we got a bunk bed so we could set it up in the house, so that like if they wanted to sleep over one day, they could, and we'd have like fires out at the house and whatever. And the kids just came closer and closer. And we knew already that we were going to like eventually become a family. But one day the girls were in their, like I say in their bedroom, but it became their bedroom. It was the old master bedroom because it was bigger. So we knew that we could like, they could share a room because it's only a 2-bedroom farmhouse with like 1 bedroom in the basement. All right. And so I moved my bedroom down to the basement. And my son had a room and my daughter had the big room. And then we put these bunk beds up just in case we ever needed them. And so we'd have like a fire or whatever, and the kids would be tired, so the girls would crash. And then Ray would sleep on the couch because, you know, we were just friends. And one day we overheard the girls talking in the bedroom, and they're like, do you know what we, like, they devised a plan. And they're like, if your dad and my mom, if they become like boyfriend and girlfriend, then we can get them, you know, then they can kiss, and then we can get them to like fall in love, and then we can get them to live together, and then they'll get married, and then we can be sisters. It'll be amazing. And so they had wrote this thing down. I actually took a picture of it. And so like, because they hadn't seen us kiss or anything at that point, but one of them did. One of them saw me kiss like mom in the kitchen when they were all outside. She caught it like through a window or something and was telling them, your dad kissed my mom. And so we did that. And so then it was like, okay, like let's, you know, make this a little bit more serious. And so then it became like, well, what if we were like boyfriend, girlfriend? And for a bit, they were kind of weirded out, like a little bit, but not really, because they saw my two especially were worried because they saw that I changed when I was around my ex. I wasn't the person I was. I even changed around my ex-wife. It wasn't who I am. And my son had saw me be just the man I am around him and around my daughter at home by myself. And that didn't change when Rin was around. I was still myself. I wasn't like, wasn't doing anything different, right? I was just being my authentic self around her, and she still loved me for me. And he recognized that. I told my ex that when I wanted a divorce. The main reason I wanted a divorce was because I wanted to end the cycle, and I didn't want my kids to grow up to believe that this is a kind of relationship that people are supposed to have. If you're with somebody, you shouldn't be sleeping in the basement or in a separate room.
Yeah.
You know, I get it. There's night shifts, there's things, there's circumstances that cause it to do that time. But like literally, like when your bedroom is in a different room, we were really good business partners. That was it. You know, and then like. So now it's just been great. So relationship wise, that was kind of the real big sticker. When the divorce first happened though, I just was like an idiot. You know, we were making a lot of money. I didn't care. I didn't want to go to work anymore. I was like, I worked so hard. I'm going to have fun. I was trying to be that dad that's like the cool dad where the kids just like, oh yeah, let's go to dad's. Woo, so much fun. You know, and like my finances got just absolutely destroyed. I'm still dealing with a lot of that stuff, right? The debt that we took on. I assumed all the businesses, the acreage, all the debt. I took the businesses as the outweighing like factor, even though they had the debt. But I kept the acreage, which had a lot of equity, right? So I've been working really hard trying to pay the debt off. In the businesses while I'm trying to maintain the acreage. But of course, as property values drop, now it's like, oh fuck, now what do I get? You know?
Yeah. No, and I'll just jump in. Like it's crazy, like how it all goes down. Like it's a lot of similar story, right? Like when my wife left, like, or you know, it was the opposite. Like she left, right? And yeah, it was a train wreck. But I jumped into a lot of the same patterns of with the shiny thing that I thought was it was super nice, but I wasn't happy with myself, right? Like, and I didn't know. Yeah, she was awesome, and I've said this before, and yeah, but I never dealt with it myself, right? And then like going to with your story, right? How you came in and then with your first girlfriend that you had after, right? Like, yeah, a lot of the good qualities. And that was the same thing that I had, right? But it just wasn't, you never dealt with why it happened in the first place, right? And it wasn't until you had that nice conversation, you know, the 5 days with your new girlfriend, right? And your new partner, that you actually had an actual connection, right?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that we do as a couple now is, and we haven't done it for a while again, for time was we used to have these executive meetings. So every Sunday night we would sit down together for a couple hours and we would talk. We'd usually make sure we were in a really good mood together first, and then we would sit down and talk about dreams and goals and life and whatever, right? We would plan out the week, like all the things that need to be done, getting kids, doing this, but bigger than that, like where are we taking this business? What are we doing with this thing? How are we growing this? And really having, like you would in any business, right? Have a meeting with your executives and create a plan and a strategy to move forward for the next week and to move your goals forward. And we would do that as a couple. And we still do it. It's just not as structured as it used to be. And some days I miss that. I kind of want to get back to that structure. We've talked about that. We said, like, we were supposed to do it on the weekend on Sunday, but I just was so, I had like this upset stomach. I don't know what was going on. I just felt awful. And so I basically laid up all day in bed. I couldn't do anything.
Oh, and that's what we that's a lot of what we teach and we go through in our program, right? Is that weekly check-in. We call it the general's tent. And in the couples that are doing that work together, so they've already set out their 90-day targets, right? Because we work quarter by quarter, and it's just like in your business, but we use it in all the areas of our life, right? So our body, our being, our balance, our relationships, and then our business last. Business comes last, and people always they try to fight me on that all the time. And well, you're going to get the same results that you've always been getting. If you have all those other areas, your body, your being, and your balance, your relationships in line, you're actually going to make more money. So that's what.
Well, it's totally true. It's totally true. And I mean, if you've got a business and you want your business to change, and that's what I went through too, right? Like, I just want this. If I get this problem fixed, then my life will be fine. So who cares what I want my life to look like? But my coach is like, if you design your ideal life and you start living that life, the business will evolve to give you that. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And so, that's what we've basically done, and it still runs that way. And I hire key people that can help with that and grow. That's something that I'd really like to be able to help more people do, not just in business, but in life. If I can help somebody with my story, then, and they don't go through the same, relationship problems, children's problems, because that's the biggest one. It's one thing, we're grown adults, we can move on, but you look at these kids now, and there's so many. I read statistics that something like, was it 1 million divorces happen a year in Canada?
Yeah.
Like, it's what the heck? There's so many. So I actually took that book that I started writing, and it gave me the freedom to and the acknowledgement that I need to make a change. And I started working with a publisher, and I'm actually publishing this book. I've been working with them for about a month and a half, and so I'll be excited to have the book, out hopefully by the end of the year, early next year. And so we're just, it was only a chicken scratch kind of copy that gave me the thing. But when I walked over what the basis of the book was for them, they loved it. And when I was going through the divorce, there's not a lot of books out there written on divorce that are written by men.
No.
They're usually written by women, or sorry for the other authors out there, they're not like men. They're just like guys, right? Males, right? And I was like, I want this written because I think a lot of men, right, they're angry when they get divorced, whatever, and they're like, I make all this money and I do this. It's like, look, asshole, you married somebody, you had kids with them, you have a responsibility. So the sooner you actually accept those three things, the sooner you'll be able to move your life forward, right? Who cares if you have to give your ex-wife $1 million a year because you made $2 million? You made $2 million, man. Don't not make any money so you don't have to give her anything. That's what I was like, without realizing that's what happened in my life.
Right?
Like, I'm not looking so you can have, which is stupid,
Yeah.
And I've said that. I'm like, I want to make as much as I can so I can give my kids a better life,
Yeah.
And I can have better. That's just it, And so now I'm like, okay, well, if I can, write this book and help a few people and get it out there, then that'll be great, right?
But it's crazy.
So,
Yeah. But it's crazy how many times you feel like you're the only one, right? You're the only one that has the problem. I'm the only one that freaked out and went to a girl right after my wife left me, right? Sure. Yeah. I'm the only one, right? Are you kidding me? Right? I'm the only one that told my wife that I was going to blow all my money and so she could not have any. Are you kidding me? Did I do that? No. But I said it. Did I mean it? No. At the time, yeah, I thought I meant it, but I was never going to do it. I worked damn hard for that freaking money, right? But you think that you're the only one who's doing this shit and no one's going to get me, right? Like, guess what? There's two dudes sitting right here that did the exact same thing, that come from this different part of the province, never met each other except for one float tank experience, that have the exact same story, right? And that's what pisses me off about the whole idea of men, and just we're on our own and you don't feel like you can talk to anybody, right? But like, yeah, you know it because we both lived it, and we both only know that because we've opened up and we had a conversation and said, hey, like, yeah, we have the same stuff that happened. So you can help other people by helping yourself, and then you can help other people. So that's how we lead in this program.
And that's the biggest thing, right? Like when people look at, you know, an individual and they go like, wow, like look at the story that, you know, he's created, and look what he's done to overcome this tragedy or whatever in his life. Like, how did he do that? And you know, I want to be able to do that in my life. And then they start doing it, right? It's the ones that are just like, do this, do that. And you look at them and you're like, you're a train wreck. I'm not taking advice from you, you know? And we talked about that earlier about like unfollowing and deleting. And like, you know, oftentimes I was looking at certain individuals as like, you know, role models or whatever, right? Because they have this one, you know, they have this thing that I wanted. And I was like, but actually, like, your home life is a mess.
Yeah.
Or your home life is really great. Your finances are a mess. Or both are really good. But you're super unhealthy. You know, there's it's like, if people go, oh, you can't. I actually say this: if you think that you're gonna find somebody that's gonna let you work as long as you want to work, and then you want to go do this and go do that, and then you think you're gonna come home and everything's just gonna be like hunky dory, you're mistaken. Like, you know, people are still going to my phone's overheating. It's charging from the computer, and it's just telling me that it's overheating and it's going to shut off. I'm like, nope, I don't lose you. So, where the hell was I? Oh, that you think you're going to find somebody that's going to let you work, do that? I'm like, and then love you? And I was like, God, I sure hope so. But I'm not willing. I'd rather be alone than if I can't find somebody that's on the same page as me. Mm-hmm. And I work my ass off now more than ever, and I come home, there's like supper made, you know, the home life is good, and I'm not saying she's a homemaker. She's working on her business and our business as well all day long, but I'm just like, she's just excited to see me. I went over there to get this charger today just because my phone's gonna die, and I'm like, can you just text her? Can you just meet me at the door because I need it quickly? And like, she's like so happy to see me, right? Kate, see you, babe, like, bye. And it's like, it's every time. And I'm like, that's what life should be like. That's who your partner should be like. And the only way men or women are going to find the perfect partner is to be themselves and not change anything. Don't be like, oh, this guy likes girls with, you know, ditzy attitudes or whatever. Well, if you're not a ditz, don't be a ditz. Wait for a guy that that likes intellectuals and likes to treat women properly and whatever else, right? Don't settle for anything. And then same thing for guys. Like, you know, if she doesn't have her life together, what your life is, then don't be distracted by the good looks and you know the willingness to please you in other ways. Like, don't do it, man. You're gonna end up unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, just be yourself and the right person will come around.
No, and that's what we work on every day with the program that we run, right? We call it the code. So it's being real. So what are the facts behind your relationship, right? And your life, and what are the feelings behind that? Like, how does it make you feel? And then why is it relevant? So why do you want to have the partner that you want to have, and why do you want to have the business that you have? So are those results relevant to your life? And then that gives you your results. So essentially that's our code. So that's what we run, and it's in all areas. And when you can be honest with yourself, and that's what you found with the new partner, is actually being able to have those real conversations, like we call them real, right? But it's just, okay, if you weren't having those conversations, what would be the facts of your relationship? Well, it would be the exact same as what you had before, where you just were unhappy and afraid to talk with the other person. Like, traits are traits, right? But we go back to our other partners, right? Like, I know for a fact if I was to have these types of conversations with her now, we most likely, we don't know, right? But we may not have ended up where we ended up. But
yeah,
we will never know, because I was afraid to actually open up and say, like, hey, I feel like, we call it an ATM. Like, and a lot of dudes feel like that. I go make money, I come home, everybody should be happy. And then I want to take a withdrawal of, like, not showing up and not doing things in my life. And, you know, like, hey babe, like, let's go have sex right now. Well, I never put anything into the bank account in that area, right, to make her happy. And I want to take these freaking withdrawals out. That's why it ended up the way that it did in my mind. Like, this is only what's happening in my head, right? Where I didn't want to have the conversation saying I'm unhappy doing what I'm doing, like being gone for months at a time. Like, and when I'm home, you have new friends, and you know, like, you know, kids have sports, they have friends all the time, you know, like other parents, right? I don't know these people. Like, I was afraid to tell her that stuff, right? Whereas if you can come home and have these types of conversations every day, you can deal with that stuff, right? So,
of course you can.
So no, it's freaking cool, man, and I love it.
Me too. My something's going on with my phone here. It's not charging. It says it's overheating, and I have 2% left, so I might lose you.
Oh, I see. Well, it's about to wrap. I think we're about ready to wrap her up, anyways. But no, it's super cool. What was the name of the book, though, Luke?
It's going to be called The Divorced Dad, and it's and then basically it's going to be everything I gained as a divorced dad that I lost as a married man.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it's only being vulnerable that you come to that area where, yeah, you're helping yourself, and now you have the opportunity to help others, right?
Exactly. That's all I really want to do. I mean, and I post a lot of that stuff on my social media, right, on, you know, Facebook, and then Instagram, I'm the Duke_Spicer.
Yeah.
So that's my fight ring name is the Duke, right? So I went like that. And so I'm posting a lot more about relationships and health and wellness and stuff on Instagram. And I'm trying to do that because, yeah, the more people I can help, the better off I'll feel, and the better off the planet will be.
Yeah. And I think after you said that, I'm changing the name of the episode to The Divorced Dad. So we'll end with that, but we'll now move it to start with that too. So it's good. Like, you found areas to be able to fill yourself up and then be able to give more to your kids ultimately, and now your new partner, right? And that's what we're looking to in this program, is just, deal with your own shit. Like, deal with yourself, and life will actually happen for you and not to you, right? Like, so no, it's super cool. So I guess quickly again, you're how can people find you again?
The Duke _Spicer on Instagram, or Luke Spicer on Facebook.
Sweet. So yeah, be looking for that, and be looking for the book, The Divorced Dad, when it comes out. So yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on, and I appreciate your time.
Of course, I appreciate you too. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to today's Tale from the Trench. Be sure to subscribe to The Awakened Tradesman on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and message us for a customized coaching strategy call to successfully live your oil-filled lifestyle. You can earn a fulfilled life. Check back next week to continue listening.